Thank you guys first for coming out. The end of such a long week and an amazing week here, ECC and Nebular. Just a quick question: have any of you worked in finance at all? Okay, we got one. Banking, trading,
Investing,
Okay.
traditional finance.
So basically, I'm going to be going over the way to bring institutional investors to DeFi and to your chain and to your token, and how we bring in more investment from the real world and to the big money. So who am I? I worked at Tendermint for 2 years and a DAO after I did 10 years in traditional finance at several different broker dealers, CRT Capital, Bridgestone, Tradition Angel. I was trading credit derivatives in 2007. Now, that was a very interesting period to be trading during the credit crisis. I filed for the Series 763 licenses, and I've dealt with institutional investors my whole career. I'm currently the founder of Cyber Labs and Cosmos Core. Cyber Labs is an incubator based in San Francisco that works with both AI and blockchain projects, as well as Cosmos Core is our subsidiary that deals with consulting mostly for Cosmos projects and any enterprise that is looking to get into the blockchain space. So, this is pretty self-explanatory. One of the issues we have right now is we look at the price of Atom. Does anyone here own Atom? Okay. So this should concern you guys. Why are we down at 590 when the overall crypto market has been doing pretty well? I mean, other than the short lag period recently, but we are significantly underperforming compared to other tokens in the same market cap and other layer ones, and especially considering our massive ecosystem and our amazing technology. This just doesn't add up. So how do we solve this? The problem is we've had no focus on bringing institutional investors into our ecosystem in any, main concerted effort. And there's a reason that we need to focus on them, which is this. Right now, there is 5 times the number of, it's 5x larger the institutional trading investment versus retail investment. We want to have individual investors, but their sheer volume is much higher in institutional space. So who are institutional investors? You have hedge funds, mutual funds, sovereign wealth funds, and pension funds. Now, these are all in the billions of dollars of investment, and they can deploy. It takes them longer to deploy, but once they do, we're talking hundreds of millions of dollars at a time. And in order to get these institutional investors, well, actually, first, this is just the beginning. You can see DeFi is that tiny little blip in the corner. We have about $91 billion invested in DeFi right now versus the trillions of dollars in other traditional investment vehicles. So the bond market alone is $119 trillion. And there's going to be some reallocation of funds from these areas into the crypto space. Now, once we had now that we've had the Bitcoin ETF approval, we're starting to see more and more institutional interest, and we'll see more and more institutional investment. And we'll see much, much more money flowing into or the crypto space. So why do we not have institutional investors? Well, there's a technicality in compliance, and that is you need to use a qualified custodian. And a qualified custodian are some of the digital asset custodians you've heard of, BitGo, Anchorage. Now, self-custody, we preach self-custody. Self-custody is great for individual investors. However, if I'm an institution, if I'm a hedge fund, if I'm a pension fund, I cannot hold tokens in self-custody. I can't hold any assets in self-custody. And I'm required to use a qualified custodian. Now, these are just SEC rules, but even outside the US, we're in Europe right now. We have a lot of investors in Hong Kong and Singapore. The SEC rules are still basically the guidance that most institutional investors follow, even if they're not under the jurisdiction of the SEC. So because you still have a fiduciary duty to your investors. And honestly, if I have a few $1 billion I'm managing, I don't want to risk losing, my ledger. So this is just the basic of the SEC's compliance rule. And basically, you need to use a qualified custodian. So who are qualified? So qualified custodians are also digital asset custodians. And basically, they're providing you several different things, or they're providing institutions many things, including audits, regulatory compliance, and risk management. And, they are different from one to another. Some have better cybersecurity measures, some have worse, some use cold storage. But the individual custodians it is still important to work with every custodian because every different custodian has different institutional investors that they work with, and they have different user bases. Who are the top custodians right now, and who are the custodians that support Atom? We have BitGo, Gemini, Fidelity. These are all the ones and currently we just have Fireblocks and Atom support. But who does not support it? Zodia, Kobo, Back, Cactus. For example, Zodia Custody, I just had a conversation with them last week. They have had clients recently request Atom support because they're looking to buy in $100 million and $200 million flips. And each of these individual custodians have similar, and it's not just Atom, but it's also other Cosmos ecosystem tokens. I've heard requests for $50 million in Neutron, for $75 million in Osmosis. I've heard Injective and other tokens in the ecosystem. Now, we're focusing on Atom right now, but once one of these support Atom, they will do the technical lift, and every other token in our ecosystem will be much easier to support, and they just have to do the compliance part. So this is basically the stages to onboarding. The most basic is the due diligence, but it can be more complex or easier. But there's normally a lot of technical integration. Now, like I just said, if we get one token supported, the rest of the ecosystem can follow. The benefits to institutions are pretty clear. But I mean, basically, as technicality, they need to know these custodians. In addition to qualified custodians, what are the other things we could do to get investors? We want to be listed on all the exchanges possible, both decentralized and centralized. And, a simple listing can really push the price much higher. Injective just got listed on, I believe it was Coinbase, and their price got pushed up 75% within for the following like several weeks. Another thing we could do is work on analyst reports, and we need to speak to investors in a way that they're used to, you know, absorbing information. We just just did an agreement with Asari to get some of these quarterly reports, but then we have to move into the funnel of investor channels, where we don't just want to speak to the Web3 community. We need to go and reach out to these traditional investors. We can do so through partnerships with these custodians, but also through other channels. And the institutional investor holy grail is basically what an ETF. This is the way you're going to have real inflows into any projects. For example, the Bitcoin's ETF got approved. They have had as much as 300 million in one day flow in to Bitcoin. And what is there a possibility of an atom ETF? Yes, but we have to go through the steps for institutional adoption in order to get there. And so this is just if you would like to learn a little more about me. This is my website, Cyborg Labs, or you can ping me directly on Telegram, at the Crypto Cyborg. And I'd like to hear from you guys. Do you have? Oh, sorry, I forgot the last slide. So basically, what are we doing about this? I'm currently working with APDAO on Project Supernova, which is working on exactly this, getting digital action custodians, getting institutional investor interest, and working through channels in order to eventually get to this point where we can get an atom ETF, or possibly even an interchain ETF, an index of all the projects in Cosmos connected through IBC as a fund. And I might be a little. So does anyone have any questions about Atom or other tokens or general institutional investment? Mm-hmm. Sure. Okay. Well, thank you guys so much for your time. I appreciate you coming out, especially at the end of this very, very long week.